Alright guys, welcome back to another video. This is Dasho Rose here, welcome back to, possibly some unfortunate news. Actually, I don't know why I say possibly. This is kind of unfortunate news, and that is, TGI Fridays. We are now down to under 80 locations. Yeah, we are now down to 80 locations. Well, under 80. We're actually at 79 now. I actually just looked it up because last week we had 80. So I'm guessing they're shutting down more of them. But in the U.S., yeah, we are losing a lot of chains and all that. Apparently this one, though, sounds like it's one of those that's doing well overseas, or at least in other countries. I don't know how it is in Canada. I don't know if there's any in Canada or not, but I do know that some things are doing better in outside the U.S. and all that. There's probably some places in the other countries that are doing better here too. It's kind of depends. But yeah, TGI Fridays just now closed the last two remaining locations in Missouri. So there's no more TGI Friday restaurants in Missouri. There's no more of them. They're all gone. And actually, going by the reviews, it looks like it sounded like they were doing pretty good, because we've had some employees reply to somebody a week ago. So I about this person talking about how they wanted to come back and all that to the restaurant. They were going to come back, and that was like a week ago from the reply. At least a week ago. I mean, maybe a few days after that, because the way they number it by, they don't go by days, they go by, or a specific date when the comments are made. They just go by a week, 2 weeks ago, a month. I kind of wish they would just show the actual date of the replies. That would be a lot better, but I don't know. That would be a little bit better, but I mean, still, the fact that they have closed down, the location in Colombia, because, it feels like I think they closed it down, unannounced, so all these employees kind of, lost their jobs. I mean, it's possible, maybe they didn't, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, because like last year, they closed down a crap ton of locations. They did. They closed down a crap ton of locations, and people lost their jobs, and they weren't even notified that the restaurants were closing. Some of them just never opened back up after, break. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. But, I do want to kind of talk about this, and then, food places in general. But if you guys haven't already, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I am trying to get to 1K subs. I am trying to get to 1K subs. It would really help me out if you guys can. Speaking of restaurants, I do need to get back into reviewing restaurants and stores. And, as for showing off locations, like, things I get, because I do that, so, sometimes I'll try new foods or something, so you guys can see my reactions to it, or, like, I'll do it just to show off, because these stores go out of business and all that, people can kind of see, like TGI Fridays, for example, kind of see, like what, it was and all that, and what kind of food they had. So sometimes I will show that off, but I'm pretty much done uploading it on YouTube. I'm probably going to put it on maybe Instagram or something. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. Because YouTube is going back through my videos and freaking deleting my comments. Well, not deleting them. I mean, they're shutting them off. They're completely shutting them off. And I can turn them back on. I did that with my Family Guy review. But I'm like, I don't want to keep having to do that, I wish YouTube would just leave people's channels alone, It's not that hard. It really ain't that hard, YouTube. Just let people do their own thing, because, you're gonna shoot yourself in your own foot doing this kind of stuff, But there's that. But yeah, that's pretty much where I kind of go. I've been kind of just going over it. I'm posting stuff. I actually have a video about Target too, that I want to talk about. They're kind of struggling too. Not like this. They have not been closing as many locations that I'm aware of. I mean, they closed them down in Canada, but they haven't been closing a ton of them down. But there has been some stuff going on with that too that I want to talk about. But yeah. Anywho, let's go ahead and actually get into this. So like I said, TGI Fridays is closing down their locations. They've been closing down, tons and tons of their locations. And like I said, in the U.S., we are down to like 79 locations. Now, that said, the U.S. honestly is not in the greatest place right now. I mean, we are, like some stuff's getting cheaper and all that, but unfortunately, people still are having a hard time affording stuff and all that. And something I really do hate is like when other countries people in the U.S. kind of do this too, but people like bash other countries and this and that. And talk about the U.S. and that we voted for this monster, the orange guy in the White House and all that. And I'm just like, honestly, it probably wouldn't have mattered who got elected because the last president, Joe Biden, people are trying to praise the guy and all that. And I'm like the guy was clearly struggling. He didn't know where he was at, and if you would say anything about that in like comments or stuff, they would delete it, So I'm like, clearly, that's not very trustworthy and all that. If you got, the president and all that and these companies, doing this kind of stuff, But yeah, I don't know. Personally, I don't really think I don't really care for any president that we were getting. I was like, I kind of wanted just to pick the one we had before, But I mean, a lot of places were closing under them too, because they were like they were trying to say the economy was getting better, and I'm like, no, it was not. A lot of places were struggling and closing under them too. And again, they try to blame COVID or Trump and all that. And I'm just like, and I mean, like I said, Trump, I feel like could have avoided some of the stuff, and all, if he possibly, gave people money and all. But like I said, COVID, because, I mean, he probably could have, helped with money and all that, or, to keep these places kind of going, But like I said, it really doesn't matter who is in office, right now. Like, if anything, I would say we probably would be better off having neither a Republican or a Democrat, but someone in the middle, someone who's kind of seen both ways. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really care. Like I said, I'm not gonna dwell on it. I'm just saying people are doing that. People are shit talking the U.S. and all that for all this crap, and I'm fucking had it with it. I'm like, move on, okay? I'm like, let's move on, alright? I'm just, just saying. I'm like, I mean, I'm not saying, everybody, I mean, not everybody's perfect, but I'm just saying, I'm not dwelling on, stuff like that, but, like I said, I mean, I'm not saying, I mean, I don't like Trump, but I guess I don't like Trump either. I don't like Donald Trump either, I'm just saying, like, I don't want people calling people names and all that either because of what they, voted for and all that. It just seems kind of stupid and silly, but I don't know. But anywho, back to this, like that's kind of where that's been going and all that, like, but now we have got, again, TGI Fridays closing down their locations, and this is kind of where, like, I'm starting to kind of get concerned about some of these places, because, I'm not gonna deny and say that, that some of these, places kind of, weren't kind of, struggling, before. And Ruby Tuesday is the same way. Ruby Tuesday, actually, when COVID hit, Ruby Tuesday closed pretty much a good chunk of their locations in, Missouri as well, and other places too. They closed like hundreds of them down. So both, TGI Fridays and Ruby Tuesdays both closed a ton of their locations down too. And then other places like, I think like Applebee's and stuff too, like a lot of sit-down restaurants struggled. And I mean, in Missouri, I don't know about other states, but Missouri, like we weren't even allowed to like go in there for a little bit. Like we could get our food to go, but like a lot of times you have to stand outside or something like, on these lines. I'm like, why would I want to do that, especially in the cold, I mean, I guess to be fair, they started letting people do that, like, in there and all that. They were still kind of doing that even afterwards, like in the fall. I think they were still making people stand, 6 feet apart and all. Like, it was a disaster, with COVID and all. It was just freaking a disaster. But they really never really came back from it. A lot of these sit-down restaurants did it. I mean, we have Red Lobster. Red Lobster did come back from it. Red Lobster actually struggled because apparently they had constant, like they were constantly giving out like shrimp and all, like endless shrimp. So it's pretty crazy that like seafood, like some food would cause all that. But like I said, anything can cause it. It could be competition, COVID, or, anything basically could cause, like, these places to close, and all. So it's like I said, you can't just blame one thing or the other, but I'm not gonna say that, like, things in the U.S. are great right now anyway, but I'm not gonna say they were better in the past either. It's been bad. Like I said, it's been bad for a long time. It's been bad for a while, and I said the problem is with these sit-down restaurants is, compared to like fast food, they're a lot more fun to hang out in because they feel unique. We're like freaking McDonald's and Burger King and all that. Well, number one, it's not as healthy. I'm not saying you can't eat some fast food, but it's not really as healthy. But also number two, it's like, not only it's not really healthy for you to, eat, and all that, but also, it's not very healthy for you to eat, but also, again, they're taking the charm away. And we got Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen's now doing this shit too, where they're trying to like monetize their locations. So like they're actually doing a couple of them where we're at. I'm actually going to like go inside of one because I want to do a video on it, because the outside looks like shit. It's just like they got lazy and made it all one color. I mean, they kept a little bit of like where the signage is at. They kept that, but pretty much the rest of the buildings, the rest of the building looks like a McDonald's, and then McDonald's like Starbucks. They all look so fucking identical. Like, I swear to God, it looks like like we're in a fucking Dr. Seuss thing or something. Like, I hate it. Like, I do hate it a lot, And that's what was cool about these, sit-down restaurants. You could actually go in and have fun, and, it was really cool to look around, and I'm just like, now it's like everything has to look fucking identical, and it sucks. It looks horrible. Like, it looks terrible. Like even the stores, at least, have more to them than this. Like, I can still go to a Best Buy or a Best Buy, a Dollar General, or a Walmart, or even a freaking Target, and I can still kind of tell, it a bit, a part of it. These other ones are starting to get kind of harder and harder to tell. I mean, I guess they still do look a little bit different, but yeah, they look very simple and cheap now. And I guess to be fair, Walmart and all, it's kind of like that too. Walmart's very cheap looking too, but but that's the thing, it's just like, it's just kind of like, that's kind of what they're doing. They keep doing all this stuff, and That's why I'm like, it kind of sucks that it's these sit-down restaurants that are struggling and the others are not. But also, I'm like, when's the last time has anybody, I don't know, like, if anybody watching this has seen this, but I have not seen a TGI Friday commercial or a Ruby Tuesday one in a long time. It's been a long time since I've seen some commercials on them. Now, to be fair, though, I do watch a lot of YouTube, and YouTube's ads suck. They are horrible. Sometimes I've gotten, like, restaurant ads, but most of the time, it's just them advertising themselves. And maybe that's probably not helping either. Maybe a lot of people don't even know they're still around. I mean, it was like that with Kmart. Before Kmart got down to their final location in the U.S., there is one over on the islands, but I don't know if that's really part of the U.S. They say it is, but I don't know. But yeah, that they got down to, before they got down to that, even in 2020, I don't think I saw one Kmart, commercial. One Kmart commercial. I don't think I've seen a Kmart commercial in years, and that's the thing, when you don't have advertisement, too, that can also hurt your business, too. It can hurt your business, but also being cheap and stuff doesn't help either, and that's the thing, although we're not seeing, McDonald's or Burger King has been closing down a lot of locations, but not nearly as bad as other fast food. But McDonald's and Burger King and even Dairy Queen, they're keeping a lot of their locations open, but they're starting to lose business too. And I can say that way about McDonald's. And McDonald's, they're still getting some business, but I pay attention to my surroundings. I think it's like an autism thing or something, so I kind of see more like the stuff around and other people do, and I can kind of see, kind of stuff like that, and that's kind of, I've been noticing there has been a very big, huge decline in stuff, and that's kind of the thing there. It's like, and that's the problem with a lot of these fast food places and restaurants. You gotta do something to make yourself stand out. You gotta give a reason for people to come to your place, And if you can't do that, then why do people want to go to you, It's kind of like in Jeff. For example, KFC. KFC has been, they have tried multiple times to open up a restaurant, but every time they do it, it closes down. And you could say it's probably the people who could be running it, maybe, and all that, but, no, a lot of these places I've been to, well, I don't remember the one when I was little, because that one closed, years ago, but they tried to close that, they tried to open up these chicken places. The problem is there's so many of them like it that there's too much competition, And it's like that with McDonald's. What's there to really go to a McDonald's anymore? Maybe a Happy Meal, but I'm like, a lot of people don't seem to care a ton about the toys, and all that, and, they do have some toys, someone like me who collects some of them, but a lot of people just don't buy the stuff, and, the issue is a lot of people go to McDonald's for coffee, but I'm like, what are you gonna do when other places get coffee too, You see the problem? You see the problem with these places? It may sound like I'm talking in circles, but I'm trying to make a point here that these places need to stop copying each other and start making their shit more unique, And the thing is, TGI Fridays, yes, they were more unique with their sit-down restaurants and all, but again, there's not really they don't have advertisements or anything, and they could probably try to find in something that maybe, can bring in customers. Maybe they can create a mascot or something, Maybe instead of like a Garfield character, maybe they can make a squirrel or something wearing a hat and having a smile because he likes Fridays, That actually could be a good idea. They can do that. I'm just saying, they could do a lot of that stuff. The problem is that's the problem. A lot of this shit is too similar now. I mean, they have different foods, but that's really about all there is to it. And the thing is, a lot of people can make this shit at home. Yeah, it's a little more complicated, especially, when you're busy or something with work and you gotta go home and feed your family. But I'm like, again, at this point, I'm like, it's just cheaper to feed a family, than I go out. Because I'm like, what's the point of going out? If there's nothing else, I mean, like I said, the restaurants, like they need to bring back stuff. Like Taco Bell, bring back your Chihuahua, I mean, they said apparently they got rid of him because, they got rid of the Chihuahua because of racism or something. But I'm like, I didn't really see any racism in him. I guess because he was Mexican. But that's what Taco Bell kind of is. It's kind of like a Mexican restaurant, It's not really supposed to be racist or anything, I don't really get why they did that. And then, again, McDonald's, bring back Ronald McDonald, put him back, like bring back Ronald McDonald and all the characters and put them in the restaurants again. Like, again, you gotta give people more a reason to want to come to your fast food. And again, advertisement is good, it's good. But it's only gonna do so much. Like I said, they need to go back to square one again and try to go back to making things work the way they did. Sometimes sometimes it's okay to experiment, but they're not experimenting. They're getting lazy and they're doing the exact same shit and all that, and it's just annoying, It's just freaking annoying, and I'm just kind of tired of it, Lots of people are tired of it. Some people like it, the new looks, but most people don't, Most people just want, it to be unique and fun, and all that. But, but some of these, like I said, some of these places, these sit-down restaurants, they're struggling, and they were, more unique. But also, I haven't seen really a lot of advertisements of some of these places. And there are some of them, like Texas Roadhouse and all that, are doing very good. They are, like, Texas Roadhouse is killing you. They get people all the time. And all that. And again, I think some of these locations got shut down. They got shut down because, of, COVID too, because COVID, took out a lot of stuff. But COVID's now over, and we're still dealing with some of the stuff. And I get the economy is not in the greatest spot right now. I mean, it hasn't been for a long time, but, but again, like, I'm just saying, but there has to be ways to, make it, more unique and all that, because I just don't, like, I mean, the one I went to, there wasn't a lot of people in the place either, so seeing it closed down doesn't surprise me either, but then there was another one I showed off on Google Maps, because I'm showing off some locations, and that other one looked like it was really packed, like there were people in there all over the place, until it closed, so yeah. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm just saying this is kind of what I think. But yeah, I guess we're gonna see probably TGI Fridays end up becoming the Kmart and all that, where we may soon get down to like 1 and all that. I hear the original TGI Fridays is still around too. It's still there. So I guess if you guys want to check that out, you guys can too before it's gone, because it might be gone soon. You know, but yeah, it sounds like they're gonna be down. I think they're gonna keep like 30 of them open in the U.S. Maybe, I don't know if it's in the world or the U.S., but I'm just saying, But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end up letting things go from here, and I'll see you guys all later. Bye bye.